Hey, welcome to lesson 6. This is our third lesson in the Mesopotamia unit. Today we're going to talk about record keeping in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamians were some of the first people to keep track of records. They kept track of economic records such as agricultural production and trade. They did this early on by using tokens, and you can see some pictures of the tokens here. And tokens are clay symbols of multiple shapes, each representing a specific product. So in some ways, they're similar to coins in both appearance and purpose. However, whereas a penny is worth 1 and a nickel is worth 5, a dime is worth 10, and a quarter is worth 25, it's much different for tokens. Each token is worth 1, but one token or one shape might represent wheat, so it's worth 1 unit of wheat, whereas a different shape might represent 1 unit of wool, or maybe metal, lumber, stone, these different products that Mesopotamians would do. So the tokens were primarily used to count, store, and communicate economic records. The different shapes represented different products, and each of these products had a specific shape to help them identify. Writing and counting also developed as a result of tokens, so they would count how much of a product they have. So if they had 5 tokens for wheat, that would be 5 units of wheat. Tokens are 3-dimensional representations of a specific product. And then this eventually develops into writing, similar to what we have today, but writing is 2-dimensional tokens drawn on clay tablets, which is the most common surface. So they take a wooden stylus or a reed and just write into a wet piece of clay, and then they let it dry, and it would be more permanent. So writing started off as just taking these tokens and drawing them on a flat surface, and eventually it expands to an alphabet with the Phoenicians, and eventually modern day writing today. Mesopotamians had one of the first, if not the first form of writing. This is called cuneiform, and they use this to record agricultural production, business transactions. They had symbols, which represented specific items, and they had numbers, which represented obviously numbers and allowed them to do math. As this becomes more advanced, they could communicate easier. Information could spread to people all across the region and from generation to generation. So now we can go back and read some of these records that they left behind. And eventually it's going to record history, customs, traditions. We'll talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh. We'll talk about the Code of Hammurabi later on in this lesson and in future lessons. So Epic of Gilgamesh is the first or earliest known piece of literature created, and it was created using cuneiform by the Mesopotamians. And then you also have Babylon, which was a city-state in Mesopotamia, wrote down all of their laws, and this is the Code of Hammurabi, and this is the earliest known time to write down all their laws and oldest surviving record of laws written down. Here's a picture of kind of drawn to symbolize the Epic of Gilgamesh. You can see Gilgamesh in the red, Enkidu, which is his friend, next to him. I think you see the head of a demon, Huwawa, who they slayed in the particular chapter, and the lumber that they took from him to return to their city-state. So the story focuses on Gilgamesh, who is a Mesopotamian king. He encounters demons, gods, goddesses. He has a quest for immortality, which ends up failing, and we'll learn more about this and have a specific lesson just on this story. Now, the Code of Hammurabi is famously known as the oldest attempt by a ruler to write down laws to govern his kingdom, most of which still survives today. There are some missing laws, and we'll talk more about this in the next lesson, as well as future lessons. They used a place value system, similar to what we have today. For example, you know that 91 is larger than 19 because the 9 appears first, and the first number is worth more than the second number. Even though you have the same exact numbers, they're just in different order. So they developed a place value system, which means that the number and the order of the number makes a difference on it. So the numbers farther to the left are worth more than the numbers on the right. So a similar system we use today, and has helped them better document their economic quantities. And you have a tablet here that shows some of these numbers written in cuneiform to kind of keep track of some of these records. This is their number system here. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one. I would encourage you to kind of write this down in your notes if you haven't, but this is pretty simple, even though it looks complex. A 1 is just going to be a vertical line. 2 is going to be 2 vertical lines. 3 will be 3 vertical lines. Now, when you get to 4, you're going to have 3 vertical lines, but then you're going to add the 4th one below the previous 3. And then 5, you're going to have 3 at the top, 2 at the bottom. 6, you have 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom. And then when you move to 7, you're going to move to 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, 1 at the bottom. So this number system continues all the way up to 9 when you have 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, 3 at the bottom. The 10 looks like a less than symbol. And then to get from 10 to 20, you add 2 of those. You have 3 less than symbols if you're going to get to 30. And then for 40, you have 3 at the top and 1 at the bottom. And for 50, you have 3 at the top and 2 at the bottom. You put the larger numbers on the left, lower numbers on the right, and this leads to numbers like 21, where you have 2 numbers representing 10 and then 1 representing 1. So Mesopotamia did a lot of things with math and made a lot of advancements. They created a lunar calendar. They used geometry to measure plots of land. They used math to administer taxes, and we'll talk more about taxes later on as well. They created everything kind of based off the number 60, and the number 60 is still used today. We have 360 degrees in a circle, 180 degrees in a triangle. Both are based on 60. So a triangle with 3 sides, 180 divided by 3 is 60. 360 degrees in a circle, you take that, divide by 6, that's 60. They have a 12-month year, 360 days in their calendar. They have 60 seconds in a minute still today, and 60 minutes an hour. So with math and time, you still see this number system that the Mesopotamians developed, the Sumerians specifically, still used in our culture. All right, next lesson will be about Mesopotamian city-states. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, please let me know.